everyone, I'm Caroline and today I've got some more storage ideas for you. You know what it's like, beginning of the year, it is January now, you start to feel like you want to clean up, tidy up, but you've got nowhere to put anything. I'm going to make a few things that will help you out with that job and will be very useful throughout the whole year. Right, no time for chatting, let's get on with crafting. So the first thing I'm going to make is something from this frame. Now this used to be a mirror. The mirror was broken. I picked this up in a thrift store, took all the bits of mirror out, and it stands like that, which is very useful. If you can't get one of these, you can use a frame that's got the little sticky out bit, I don't know what you call it, perhaps the leg on the back, if you wanted to stand up. You could stick it near you on your desk, on a bit of a wall or something like that too. I've cut myself 2 pieces of cardboard that fit exactly into here. And the reason I've done 2 is I want this to be really solid. I'm just going to glue these 2 together. And with the other bit. And now, this is really firm. It's probably as hard as any hardboard backing would be. I think they're a bit wonky. They're not going to move now, so they'll do. We'll squash them in if they don't quite fit. So these are going to be fitting in here. And I've made them slightly smaller than they need to be because they're going to have something on the outside that will make them even bigger. I've got this piece of foam. I had this. It was a crib in a thrift store, a baby's like Moses basket thing. They sold for £1. So I thought I'll have that, and I've used loads of bits off it. And now this is the foam mattress. So I'm going to get my piece of foam, or my piece of cardboard, not my piece of foam. And then I'm going to draw around this. I'm going to utilise that straight edge, save me cutting that. Lean against there. And a biro doesn't work. Let's try this black marker pen. Yep, that works nicely. It's a fine liner. Actually, it's a thick fine liner. Now, I'm going to cut this out. I think you could do this with a knife, I'm not quite sure. I just find it easier with the scissors. I feel you've got more control. Chopped away. Oh, and this is about 1 inch thick. I think it's a little bit too thick really, but it's the only foam I got. And I don't like to go out and buy things for projects unless I really need to. So I thought we can make this work. Well, I hope we can make it work. So now, taking this, I'm going to cut in at an angle there to round off these edges. Just on the one side, not on the back, just on the front. Like that. It'll make it easier to fit in the frame then. And I think it'll give it a bit of a rounded, more expensive look. And I do like things to look a little on the high-end side. Like that. Now that's a mess. I know, but don't worry. It will get better. Next, I'm going to take these shoelaces. I've had these for I don't know how long. A lovely viewer sent them in to me. I'm going to cut the ends off. And I'm going to glue that into place. Well, I really should measure this. Go on, I'll be really good and I'll measure it. You know what I'm like, I usually guess by eye. I'm not a big fan of measuring. I just want to put 2 this way and 3 this way. So now on here, I'm going to put this here. And let's get my finger protector. I'm going to really regret it when I've got a blister. There. This has to go all the way around with plenty space. So I'm going to cut it to about there. Now, I've never made a prototype of this. I was getting everything together to make what I thought I'd make, and then I had a clever idea. I thought, oh, I can change this up, and I'm not sure how it's going to go, but I'm sure that it'll go well, and if it doesn't, I'm sure everybody will be very supportive and far too polite to say, ooh, that didn't work. I don't mind. If it doesn't work, I can take it. So now I want 3 lengths. Have I got enough for 3 lengths? About there-ish. 2. Ooh, it's going to be tight. We'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, I'll just cry. No, I won't. Right. Now we glue these into place along here. 1, 2, I shouldn't have done that. One at a time. Stop rushing. I am terrible for rushing. Finger protector. And the last one. There. Like that. Now turn this over. And I think I'm going to trim this a little bit more. I just get the feeling that it's going to squish a bit when I do this. So I'm just going to give it a little bit more of a trim. It may end up too small. If so, don't follow this instruction. Yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Fine, fine, fine. Accuracy is overrated. Unless you're doing heart surgery. Or flying to the moon, something like that. But for crafting, for yourself, obviously if you're selling your crafting, you've got to be a little bit more careful. But I just like enjoying the process and not worrying too much. I find it spoils it for me if I'm worried about every little thing that goes wrong. I find that very pressurising and takes the fun out. Oh, I've got some stuff in now to stuff something with. Not a turkey. Not good. Right, more hot glue. Like that. Right to the edges-ish. There. And then pop this on top. Like that. Then realise you've got this completely wrong and you've forgotten to put your fabric on. Oh no! Oh well. It's going to be one of those days today. I can just sense it. So this is a dress I picked up in the thrift store for £1. No, I think this one cost me 20p. This wasn't even on the pound rail. This was in the, these clothes have no hope at all. And that's where I rescue them from when I can. Now measure this so that I got plenty to go around the edges. I like tearing. 1 is faster. 2, it's usually straight. And 3, makes a lovely sound. Right, so ideally you would do this before you glue on your little lacy bits or whatever you're using. So I'm going to have to come up with a solution now. So, what am I going to do? Right, do not do this at home. If you're going to do this, make sure you do this first. I'm going to snip down where each of these are. I know, it's really not perfect. But it'll be okay. It'll be good enough. I actually filmed 2 of the projects for this week's video last week. I miscounted somehow. How can you miscount and do 7 instead of 5? So I thought, well, I can use those this week. So 2 of them, I will be wearing different clothes. And I was last week, because it was the first time I'd made a video for 2 weeks, I found I was very rusty and I was so concentrating on what I was doing. I don't think I was as chatty as usual. So you may notice a little bit of a difference in the way I am on the 2 of the projects. I bet you'll guess which one straight away. Right, I think that worked out fine. Yes, didn't it? Chop the edges off. And then I'm not going to bore you with it. I'm going to do the same on the bottom bit now, and then I'll show you what our next step is, because had you put this fabric on before you put your laces on, you wouldn't be in this mess that I'm in. So now, had you done this the proper way, you would end up with this. You'd have covered a piece of foam on your backing board. Then you would glue these into place on the back. And now, I'm going to glue these, pull tightly around this, just to give it a little bit of depth, a little bit of interest. It won't be a lot, because if you put too much tension on, it'll pull the little piece off the other side. There is a way of buttoning these to give like a quilted effect. I'll talk you through it, but I won't do it. Or perhaps we'll do that. Let's get these in place, and then I'll see how efficient I'm feeling and how conscientious. Pull that quite tight. Fix it into place. Make sure you let this cool before you let it go, because otherwise it'll ping off. And we can't be doing with pingy laces. And I do the same with each one of them. I don't know how much you can see. I keep wandering off because I'm trying to hold tension on these. I'm pulling them in close to me. And everything's clattering on my desk today. It's a very clattery day today. Did you make anything crafty over the Christmas holidays? I played about with my sketchbooks and a little bit of glue booking, that sort of thing, but I didn't actually do any crafting. I had a break because Christmas is always a crazy crafting time for me. So I usually decide for Christmas I'm just going to not craft, and then it's a novelty when I come back to it then in January. But I would imagine if you don't get much spare time and you're actually off work or something like that over the Christmas break, it's a perfect time to craft. Look how clean my glue gun is still. Very impressive. I wonder how long before it starts to look like the last one. Bit of a hedgehog. Now, I would say, if you want quick and easy, don't do this step because it's going to really slow you down. But I just think it'll look nicer, so I am going to show you what it'll look like. So I actually need 6 buttons that match. And so I put those there. Whoops, they're still alive. And 6 little buttons. 2, 4. Any buttons will do for the back because nobody's going to see them. But it's a good way of using up your ugly buttons. I'm going to make holes in the cardboard on the crosses. It's much easier if you haven't got over the crosses with your little bits of lace or whatever. Not too big a hole. You don't want that button being able to pull through it. Get yourself a piece of cotton. Go through the button in one hole and up through here, and this is going to take some fiddling around to get it through both pieces of lace, ribbon, whatever you're using. I can't guarantee mine are going to be completely level. Pull it through, but make sure you've got plenty this end. Then you come up through the button, down through the button, move it down, and then go back through. And this is even more fiddly, trying to find the hole on the back. Oh, that was pretty quick. And then come up through the other hole of the button, like that. And then pull it tight until you get that, I don't know if you can see that nice squidged in buttoning effect. And then tie it up. I'm going to put 3 knots in just to be absolutely sure that it doesn't go wandering anywhere. I keep threatening to learn to do one of those knots where you pull it tight and it doesn't come loose again. And I never get round to it. It's probably a lot easier. And now we got our first bit of buttoning. And I'm going to do that on the other 6 points. And I'll get back to you. I'm going to take out these legs that normally hold the piece of glass in because it'll only hold something the depth of a piece of glass. Always be careful with these sort of things. They're really sharp on the ends. So now we take our little pad that we've made. This goes in there. But first of all, out with the hot glue. I have another stick at the ready because this is a one try wonder. Get your glue in and then you've got to get your glue all in and then go for it quickly before the glue sets. No, wrong glue stick. It's definitely going to be one of those days. Try putting a smaller glue stick in my big glue gun. And here we go. Get one shot at this. And then, because it's not quite fitting there, wiggle it about a bit. Yep, that's fine. I'm going to put a bit of extra glue now, just to make sure it's going to be held in all the way around. Push it into place and then hold it then until the glue is completely cool, because it's quite springy. And then you've got this. It's a bit wonky, but I'm sure it doesn't matter between friends. Now, you can leave it like this, or you can decorate it. Or you could have originally painted the frame, but I thought this was gold, but when I looked, it's actually wood. And so in real life, it looks really nicely country. So I'm going to keep that. And I thought we could put some embellishments on it. Now, I did at first think about some flowery type things. I've got these, and you could always put a button or a bead in the middle and use those. But I think that's too flamboyant. I think this is a lovely sort of country simple look. So I think what I'll do is I'll make a few little flowers to go on it using bits of fabric. So to make these, get yourself a length of fabric, twist them a little bit, get yourself a little leg so you've got something to hold, a little bit of hot glue, twist and wrap round and around using plenty of hot glue to make sure that it doesn't come unravelled. And then cut off your tail that you've been using to hold it. You've got yourself a sort of shabby chic type little flower. And I'm just going to make 3 of these in different fabrics. So I've got a stripy one, I can make a denim one, and I may make a darker denim one. I've got lots of bits here to choose from. Bits of seam, anything will do. Somewhere back in the annals of time, I got a video that shows you how to make these. They're a bit more like rose-like. They've got petals on them. But I think that was, at least a year ago. I think that was really early days of when I started crafting. Well, started my crafting channel. Well, changed my channel over to crafting. So now up in the corner, I'm going to put the flowers I made. One there. One there. And which way is the right side? One there. I think that's just nice and simple. You can add as much flamboyancy as you want. You can even add a little pearl on the inside of the flowers. Looking now, see if I got any pearls to hand. No, I haven't. But you get the idea. If you pop a little pearl in there, if you wanted to make it a bit more glamorous. And there you've got a lovely standing up. You can use it as a pin cushion. Keep your pins in. Or, if you want to, I know this isn't a very accurate portrayal, but you can get yourself any of your notes. You can stick your notes in. So if you're making a craft, you can write down the stages on there and then pop it on there and then throw it away when you've finished. You can hang your keys on there. Whatever you need to do. You need a bigger pin to hang a key on there. Why would you hang your keys on there in the craft room? But you don't have to use it in the craft room. So I love that. It did take a bit longer because of the putting the buttons on, which is completely optional. And I'm sure you'll do a better job of keeping everything straight. But I love that. It was really cheap and reasonable. And I do need a bigger pin cushion. At the moment, all my pins are actually being used. I'm making a patchwork quilt. And so all my pins just about are taken up. I've just got a few in this teacup here. So I can show you what it looks like just with a few pins in. I don't want to go taking the pins out of my quilt pieces. And I will be using this when I'm making my quilt because it's just going to be so much easier. I can just plonk it on the table by the side of me and then move it from room to room because I tend to work in several different rooms. And it'll be perfect. Let me know if you're going to make one of these. They are a lot of fun and either quick and easy or easy but fiddly and time consuming. Quick and easy storage idea, I got this. Now you can use just a square tray without any wheels on. I like the idea of this because you can put this on the end of your desk out of the way and then when you need it you just pull your rope and over it comes. Craft supply delivery. So we need some individual things to put in here to hold everything because otherwise you put things in and it just looks a mess. So I mean you can put things in this and you've got yourself a very quick container for keeping your craft supplies, but we need to switch it up a little bit. So I move that out of the way and bring on a toilet roll. I know, I think, what on earth are you doing with a toilet roll? But I'm going to cover this first and then show you what we do with it. So out with the glue gun. I've cut this piece of paper to be in exactly the same height, but about 1/2 centimetre longer around the outside. Oops, make sure you put it on the right way. Pop it into place. You can use glue stick, you can use any glue really. I'm using a hot glue gun because it's just so much faster for when I'm filming a video. wrap it around and then finish off with a little bit more glue. Right, I've had to turn my monitor off now because I was having problems with it. So I'm now doing this without being able to see if you can see. So sorry if I suddenly go off shot. I will try to keep an eye on it. I'm just going to trim the edge off that. And that could be one of the containers, but it's a little bit boring, isn't it? So you can do something to it to switch it up. I've got some red gingham here, so I'm going to wrap it around with a little bit of red gingham. About a quarter of the way down, I suppose. This is so easy to adjust for what you like, your taste, and you can really let your creativity flow. You can stick on this anything you want to. I'm sticking a bit of that on, and then I'm going to, oh, I fancy a tulip bow. I'm going to stick a tulip bow on. Why not? Glue it into place. Now that is how easy it is to make each receptacle. So I've got this one, and I've also made a few others. I was going to make half with the red and white gingham and half with the blue and white, but I only had a little bit of red and white. So that's the only long container I got with this in. Now, because I use fabric, I could tuck this around, leave it a bit longer, and then glue around the edge and fold this down. You can't do that so easily with paper. It really creases up. So if you want it really folded nicely, I'd suggest you use all fabric. And I decorate a few in different ways. Different sorts of things there. I think that one needs a little bit of something. So when I put them in a row, I'll have a look, and I think I'll put a bow button on this, not a bow. A nice red button. There. You can just do this as you go along until you get a design that you really like. And you may want to do them all the same. I thought I'd mix it up a little bit. But I'm not going to decorate every one of these. I've got a few because I don't want them to bump into each other and they won't sit flat. Whereas if they all got buttons and things on, it's going to be a bit of a mess. But I've not only done these because that's a little bit predictable, isn't it? And not everything is that tall and you lose it. So you need some shorter things. I've got this. Now this is a sellotape holder. The inside, or brown tape, I think this was. And when I'd finished, I put it in my stash ready in case I needed it. I've now covered it with fabric over the top like that. I've traced out a little piece of cardboard. Now I'm just going to glue this to the bottom. You can put bottoms on all these. If you want to take them in and out with whatever's in them, still in them, if you put a bottom on, then you could be able to pick them up like that without emptying them. I'm only doing it on this big one because, again, time restraints. So that's like that. And now you're not going to see this bottom bit. If you want to, pop a little bit of something, an embellishment, a bit of lace or ribbon or something around the bottom. One thing I always like to have on hand is pins. I seem to use a lot of them in various different things, not sure why. So I've cut myself a little bit of foam pool noodle like this. Then I'm going to go over the top with a piece of gingham. Where did that come from? So I'm going to cover this with a piece of gingham by putting some hot glue just a little bit along the top there, just to hold it in place and put it fairly central. Measure where the bottom comes. I don't want this hanging over the bottom because it'll just make it wobble and won't sit as flat as it could. Down the side, be careful because your hot glue can melt your pool noodle if you're not careful. Some there. Some there. And then fold nicely and cover the whole of the pool noodle. If you haven't got enough to go to the bottom, don't worry, because you can just put a little piece of embellishment on. I'm going to anyway, just to pretty it up. Then do the same on the other side. Hopefully you've left enough room or enough fabric so there won't be a gap. I think I'm okay. Yep, I'm going to be okay. Now you can leave it like that. The main reason I did that is because I want to put some of this burlap on, and it's not the most expensive burlap in the world, so we've got very big gaps, and I didn't want you seeing an orange pool noodle through it. So I'm now going to come across with this, and I think it's going to really suit the project. So I'm going to whiz around the outside. Whiz, 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 whiz. Which is difficult when your glue gun has started cooling. There we go, like then. pop that into place and make as neat a job as you can, or a tatty job, depending on what you want it to look like. But gluing that on top. There. And then trim it off. So now I'm going to just come around the join. Always good to neaten up joins with something, and I've got this burlap here which is perfect for the job. A little bit of hot glue, but then I'm going to put some hot glue all the way around, because, well, not every scrap of the way, but a lot of the way, because otherwise it's going to sag, and we can't be doing with saggy burlap. Oh, look at that, the edgings come off there. Glue it back on. Hurrah for hot glue. And now, I think we need a button on that too. Should we go for a red button or a white button? Or a red and a white? No, it's not quite small enough. What about a white inside a red? No. What am I going to do? What would you do, red or white? I think I'm going to go for red. Decision made. Just stick it on. You can't change your mind then. There we go. Sometimes, do you find that you get far too obsessive over a small detail like that and you end up taking forever to do things? The last thing I'm going to do is I've got this. I bought this. It was some creme fleurette that I got when we were in France on holidays. I thought, oh, I'm going to take that tub back home with me. I'm sure I can come up with some craft for it, and I have. So I've cut it off to a height that I think is going to be suitable for my craft supplies. I've got myself some more gingham. I'm going to cover the box with gingham, going to the bottom edge. And then you don't need to glue every scrap, but definitely glue around the edges. I find it very difficult with gingham to keep it straight. I don't know if it's just me. I tend to get rather wonky gingham when I've gone all the way around something. It starts to stretch out in the most weird ways. Then I'm just going to run around the inside and fold this over. The fabric folds so much nicer than paper. Trim the bottom. And I think I'll put a button on the top of this one too. About there. And a white one. Like that. So now let's bring back the carton. It's a bit boring, isn't it? So what I've done is cut myself a piece of fabric that will fit nicely in this gap here. Then I get my pointy thing. So if you've got something like this, your gap will be completely different to my gap. So best to measure it yourself rather than me give you the measurements. And then fray the edges. And I don't mind fraying the edges on little bits. It's still a bit time consuming, but not as bad as like fraying along the edges of jeans. And jeans are so much harder on the hands to fray. What I find is if you take 2 threads at a time, it's a lot quicker than doing more. It's less haste, more speed. Real tortoise and hare thing. I get a little bit frustrated sometimes if I'm rushing, and I try to pull too many threads at once, and then you just end up in a mess. So try to restrict yourself to 2 threads if you can. If your patience will do it. Mine won't always. Then you can fray the edges as much or as little as you like. Let's try and clean some space here. You can see this is the look we're going for. So I cut myself a piece of the wallpaper I've been using to cover all my little tubes, and then stamped out a heart. And I'm going to glue that into place on top of this piece of fabric. Preferably central. Just do your best. Doing your best is much more fun than having to fight for perfection. There we go, that'll do like that. Take off the last few edges. My door is blowing now. The wind is so bad outdoors. It's really cold here in Wales this morning. There's a light dust in the snow, and the wind, it sounds like a creepy castle. So now on either side of this, I'm going to glue these little things, and I think it just ties in the cart. It doesn't look like you just stuffed a load of stuff into a cart that doesn't belong. I think it makes it look like it's all part of one big item. It was designed that way, which it was because we designed it, didn't we? I'm sure you're going to design yours in the perfect way for your workspace, home space, whatever it is you want to do. Then glue the other one on the other side. Fortunately, you can't see both sides at the same time, so it doesn't matter if they're not completely symmetrical. Like that. And now if you want to, you can put something on the front there. Maybe a row of buttons or something, or you could put, if you were definitely going to use this for craft, you could put crafts or toiletries or colouring pens, anything like that on there. But I love those little embellishments on the side. I think they really make this, they take it up a level. It starts to look more high end. And now decide what you're going to do. I've made quite a few different types of these, and I'm going to put in what I think I'm going to use at the time I'm going to use this cart, so I can change it up by having a selection of different containers. So I'm going to put that one in there. I'm going to be definitely wanting my pin cushion, so I'll put that in that side there with the button facing front. Let me check you're in shot. Yeah, just about. It's very difficult without a monitor. And then I'm just going to dot around, whoops, my other containers like this, and that's pretty good. And then you can change it up. You could make all square ones if you wanted to, more of these little low ones here. But I think that is so cute and so sweet. I think I'm going to need to put some more decor on some of these. I'll do that now. That way then you can just see some more different alternatives. A little bit of burlap, see what that looks like on here. It's going to need some colour though, isn't it? I don't like just burlap on this blue. Looks a little bit, for me, a little bit boring. Dare I say it? Pop that on there. And we're just going to pop a button on. And that completely changes it up, doesn't it? That looks so much better. Like that. So is that one done? Just cut myself off a piece of denim. Oh yes, I think this is going to look nice. Make a little two-loop bow, like that. Whatever you fancy doing, really use this as a way to practice your creativity, because your creativity is almost like a muscle of your brain. The more you create, the better you get at it. So make sure that you're always challenging yourself to do something, even if you're copying everything that somebody does on the craft that they're making, that you've seen on a video. Try to make sure that you also add a little bit of yourself in. Even if it's very small things, think, what can I do to make this completely mine? It'll do your brain the power of good and increase the ideas you come up with. The more you do, the more you'll get. Pop that there. And a button or not? I think so. Yes, I'm going to put a button on. I know I've got the space, so I'm going to put a button on. But you can see there, if they all had this sort of embellishment on, you'd never fit them in. They'd be all wonky. Put that on there. And now I can fit my button and the bow sticking out the side there. Yep, and that one hasn't got any embellishment on, but I don't think I can actually fit any on and it wouldn't be seen anyway. So there we go. We got my little trundle truck of goodness. And, oh, it's a bit wonky, isn't it? Never mind. Don't tell anybody and I won't. So we've got a little trundle truck of goodness that we can put everything in that we need. Let's have a look. And look at that. One full trundle truck. All of our potential in one small area. Ooh, it makes me want to carry on crafting. I just love craft supplies and craft tools of all sorts. Easy storage craft, I've got a pair of jeans. Now these jeans are not, well, you've seen jeans with holes in. This one's completely missing a leg and a bottom bit. I've been using this for other things. I pick these jeans up from the charity shop where I can get 5 items for £1. And I've got some ribbon and some pockets of other bits and pieces. I had a little scrap of patchwork where I've been making the scrappy quilts. So first thing we have to do is take a chunk of this leg out. So now to make a start, I'm going to cut as big a section as I can down the length of the leg. now I'm left with this, and I need to get this cut straight. So the first thing I need to do is trim off here. So I'm going to cut along there, which has got a nice straight line on it. Look at that for a perfect guide. Now you can sew everything on this if you like sewing. If you hate sewing, this is perfect because I'm going to do the no-sew method. Now using my very expensive straight edge, which is actually a piece of wood. I find the easiest way is to line things up on my cutting mat. You may find an easier way. Sorry if my voice is a little bit all over the shop, it's because I'm standing up. So I'm going to draw up there with a pen. If you've got tailor's chalk, something like that, do equally as good a job. And when you've drawn your line down either side, you've got some options. Now, if you're very efficient, you could fold this and sew it like that. You can cut it with a straight edge and put some bias binding on the side. You can cut it and then fray it a little bit. Saves you sewing. I'm going to use my pinking shears, which is this one. It's got like wiggly bits on it. And that way then it won't fray. But it gives it an interesting edge too. I'm hoping this will cut denim. Pinking shears are not always the best scissors for cutting very thick materials. And that's the sort of effect you get on the edging, which I think is quite decorative. Then cut down both sides. And you end up with that, which I measured and it still doesn't look very straight, does it? Never mind, it'll do. Next I'm going to get this pocket, which is of a different colour jeans, and I love this because it's a different colour. It's going to contrast nicely, and I'm going to use my normal scissors for this and cut that out really as close as I can to the edge, or you can cut it out a little bit and fray it again. Depends how patient you are with fraying. It can take an awful long time fraying. I wonder who wore these jeans. I wonder what fun these jeans had. Were they somebody's work jeans, or did they wear them out on holidays? Did they go exploring wearing them? Dig in the garden? Shopping? I bet they've seen some things. So there's another pocket made. But there's another pocket I want to make from this. And I'm going to put my dog central. So I'm going to put this onto my piece of fabric there, making my dog as central as I can. He's not going to be terribly central, but it's patchwork, so I'll get away with it. And I'm going to draw around that to give me a better rough idea of where I'm going with size and folds and things like that. Get out my trusty ironing board that I use for my patchwork. Look at it, it's just an old Christmas tablecloth that's a little bit tatty, and I wrapped it around a piece of cardboard. So I'm going to fold that there, and I'm going to iron it. Give it a nice crease, and then fold down there. Take that corner off, fold down there, and do the same all the way around until you've made a nice pocket shape. And look at that for a happy, friendly pocket. So now take my leg jean bit, which is going to be my hanging storage pocket, and I think I'm going to turn that bit under on the bottom because it's a little bit too close to the edge and it's going to look like it's frayed. So just turn it up. You are in control. At the end of the day, your pockets don't have to match perfectly. That's the whole point of this. So that needs a little bit of a press up there. My iron's cooled down now and I don't want to go plugging it back in again. That'll do. So I'm going to put the red pocket with the edges folded under, and then I'm going to be putting the light blue pocket. So I've got 3 pockets for the price of 2 because I've done nothing to this pocket up here. Now you can make this as long or as short as you like. You can make it just a 1 pocket depth if you've only got a small area of wall you want to hang it on. You can even put one section of this in a picture frame. It's amazing what you can do just by being a bit inventive. Have a little think before you commit yourself and think if there's a different way to do things. So now I think they're pretty much even. Comes the fiddly bit. Oh, and you know me and fiddly bits. We don't get on. Glue that into place. turn it around, make it a bit easier to do. I find it easier to put the glue on the piece of fabric rather than on where it's going to go in case it doesn't quite match up. And oh yes, I did burn my finger. And do your best not to get any glue on your denim. I didn't succeed. I've already got a splodge on there. It doesn't look very straight either, does it? We'll ignore that. I'll tell you what we'll do. That one sort of goes that way, that one now. So I'm going to do this one this way, and it looks like it's a design element. Yes, I like that idea. I hope you like my design element. I've decided to put these at slightly different angles. If you believe that, you'll believe anything. Right, on with some glue. I need to do all the back on this. Well, not every single square centimetre, but as much as you can, and make sure your edges are covered. But not too much, otherwise it will splurt out over your denim. One chance. One chance. Is it going to work? Slightly at an angle there. And now we got the question, are people going to think, do you know some of your pockets are wonky? Well, all my pockets are wonky. But that's the thing, if you do it with all of them, then you can say, no, I wanted it that way. And now we know where the bottom is. Out with the pinking shears. And even if you haven't frayed anything else, you may decide to fray along the bottom here. That would look really cute. The only thing is, it'll take me about 20 minutes, and I don't really have 20 minutes this morning to fray it, so I'm cutting it. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of decoration to tie in the colours. So, should I do it that way? Or should I put a bow? Oh, I think a bow would look lovely on that one. I'm going to do a tulip bow and put it on there, I think. Have a look, see what you can come up with. Decorate it in the style you like. You may not want bows. You may want loads of bows. You may want to put buttons on. There's so much you can do with something like this, because you're starting off with just a very, very basic outline pattern of this, and then you can decorate it. Oh yes, I like that. That's going to look so cute. Put it central. I was tempted to put it at the top, but I think it's going to be a bit floppy there, so I'm just going central. And I want to do something with this top pocket. Out with my tub of red buttons. And oh, that's a nice country looking button. I wonder if I got 3 of those. Oh no, I'm going to have to empty them out again. Reds and pink is in this little jar. Oh yeah, I got more of those. I could put 3 in a row. Like that. Oh yes, I like that. Yep, I like that. Now we just need to put a hanger on. So I'm going to use some string. String always looks so good with denim. Twine, not string, I suppose you call it. So decide how long I want the hanger to be. Not too long, because otherwise it takes up a lot of wall space that you didn't need it to take up. So about there I think would be fine. Just not put the very tall things in the top. If you're going to be putting tall things in every pocket, then make your hanger a bit longer. I'm going to put a knot in the back because it just gives more oomph for the glue to hang on to. Some there. Some there. And then just to give it extra stickability, I'm going to run a line right across from knot to knot, just over the edge of the knot. And I'm going to put some of my ribbon on it. I know it won't be seen, but again, it gives it more something to stick to. Or adhere to, if you want a posh word. Trim it off. Trim off your little ends there if you don't need those anymore. And there you've got yourself a hanging pocket, complete with glue strings. And that was really easy, really quick. And you can make it more difficult if you want to sew. I didn't, so I made it really quickly with no sewing. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, because that way then YouTube will know that people are enjoying my videos and recommend them to more people. So more people can come along on the journey, the more the merrier. And that way as well, we get to chat more in the comments, and you can read other people's comments. Pop your own suggestions in. I love it when somebody says, oh, you could have done this or you could have done that. We all learn as we're going along then and share the knowledge. Right, let's see what this looks like hanging up and fully functional. I think we need a super easy washi tape storage solution that you can do in minutes. Get yourself an embroidery hoop, slacken it off, take out the middle section. I quite like this one, I got it from a car boot sale. Isn't it very pretty, having a pink one? And you need to take the screw right out. So now you've got this. And all you've got to do, if you're not looking for pretty, you're just looking for simple, quick and easy, put all your washi tapes onto this, as many as you want, and then do your screw back up. And if you want to save even more time, you don't even need to put a hanger on it. You can put that over a nail or something, but if you want to put a hanger on, it's simple enough. Wrap yourself a hoop of ribbon, glue it into place like that. And then you haven't even got to fix this to the ring, because if you do, you may want to slide it around to make it easier to undo and do this up as you replace your washi tapes. But there you can hang that up. I would pull that up over there for the hanging situation. And you can even, if you want to, let's do something to hide all this, because look at the size on that screw, it's rather large. Make a fairly big 2-loop bow. And I'm going to dovetail it both at the same time. So put your ribbon together and cut from the wired bit to the centre, like that. And then, if you glue that onto the ribbon, but not onto the holder, like that. And then when you're hanging it up, you can put the bow to cover. Difficult to show you lying down because I can't put it in the right place, but you can just position the bow so that it looks good hanging up. So there you've got a really quick, easy and pretty washi tape holder that's very practical, really easy to use. Can you imagine how many rolls of washi tape you could get on that? Very effective storage, and I'd love to see a row of these, all with colour coordinated washi tapes. I don't have that many washi tapes, but if you do have a lot, then you could all the blues here, reds here, pinks there, yellows there, or have a rainbow of colours right the way along the wall of your studio. I've got a coat hanger. Doesn't seem to make any good sense to making a washi tape storage, but keep watching. First thing I'm going to do is get some wallpaper. I've got this wallpaper here, and I'm going to very roughly draw around my coat hanger. And then cut it out. You can use fabric for this, and you can completely skip this stage if you want to. Just I think it's going to look nice. Storage, yes, is practical, but it is nice to have pretty storage too. Put yourself some... Oh, look at my glue stick. It's all melted for some reason and squidged around. Put some glue stick over the side of your coat hanger that's the flattest edge. It's much more difficult with paper if you're doing it over a rounded edge. Make sure it's coming right to the edge of where you want the paper to be, and don't worry that your paper isn't the right size. It's all going to be dealt with. Because you only drew around this roughly, it's only going to be a rough fit. Pop your paper into place so that it virtually fits, but it's going to be probably a little bit big because you drew around the coat hanger. And the coat hanger then and that would make it bigger than the actual coat hanger. If you've got any obvious overhangs, it's quicker to trim them with the scissors. Get yourself some sandpaper and rub it around a tumbling block. If, like me, you put your sander down, your desk is clear, so there's nowhere it could be, but it's disappeared. I have no idea where that's gone. I'm sure the gremlins come in and steal things from me when I'm filming. Now rub along the edges of your paper and it'll bring it off to a nice finish. Bit of a rustic look. Right, that sandpaper was a bit too violent, so I'm gonna use a smoother one. It takes a bit longer with a smoother one, but at least it leaves a much nicer finish. I've torn some edges with the thicker, harder, whatever you call it, firmer grade, coarser grade, that's the one. So don't use a coarse grade. Now I have to confess, I've never had that much problem before using sandpaper on wallpaper, but this is the only time I've used it on a washable wallpaper. It's got like a plastic finish, so it has torn little bits. I thought it was just a coarse grade, but it's not. It's just the paper doesn't like being sanded. So be careful what paper you use. A crafting paper would be better. I just find that buying wallpaper is so much cheaper. And you'll end up with a mess, so you need to clean that up. I've got this, which is actually a piece off a very long floral stem, a floral pick. I took the head off and I'm left with this. Now you can use a piece of dowel if you want to, and you need it to be slightly longer than your coat hanger. I've got a bead with some hot glue and pop it on the end. Now if you don't like whatever piece of flower pick you've taken this off, you can wrap this with a florist wire. But imagine that'll work. Like I could have wrapped this with white florist wire, which I was going to do, and I can't find that either. It's definitely a busy day for the gremlins in my house. So pop yourself your bead on both ends, like that. Simple job. And you'll see why in a minute. Ooh, looks like a mini weightlifting. I've got myself 2 cup hooks. I've chosen these because they're blue. You can use silver or gold, bronze, brass effect. Pick bits of paper off me. But I think these will just be a little bit more subtle. So now, underneath the coat hanger, not with a glue gun, with a drill, it's much better. I'm just going to drill a starter pilot hole. That hole makes it much easier for you to get your cup hook in. Oh, and I should say too, that not only does it make it easier to start your hole and start screwing in, it also means that you don't split your wood, because with a thin bit of wood, it could split. Now this should fit into the hooks there. Now you can leave it like this, or you can decorate this a little more. I'm now going to use these wooden beads. I think they just add a little bit of fun. Again, completely optional, and you can do whatever suits your personality or the style of your room. Put them above each little hook there. And I think I'll put one in the centre too, just because I can. Now, out with your washi tape. Pop them onto your whatever it is you've got going across the middle, whether it's a piece of cane or bamboo or flower stalk like mine. And you haven't got to worry about it coming off the end, because obviously this is so big, because the hooks will stop it. So just get yourself a nice selection of washi tape. And now you can hook your little bar onto the little cap hooks, and you've got yourself a selection of washi tapes. The firmer this bar is, the straighter it'll be, but I quite like the effect of it dangling down like that. So when I make more, I'm definitely going to leave them dangling down. I think they're prettier. So what I have learned from making this craft is don't sand off washable wallpaper, because it's just got a horrible finish that just peels away. So if I was you, I'd use some sort of craft paper. It'll do a nicer job. enjoyed this video, then don't forget to subscribe, because I've got so many more videos coming up throughout the next year and beyond. I can't wait to show you, so it would be great if you come along for the journey and see what I make and join in the fun. I'll see you all next time, but until then, don't forget, happy crafting and have fun. Bye.